I hope I just get so passionate about what I'm talking about that I go on. I'm going to try to make this distinct so that way. Hi, Judy. Take away something you can use and work on. So, the question of the day today for me is: are you being your true, authentic self to everyone you're around and also for yourself? Or are you a people pleaser? What is a people pleaser? Well, in my opinion, a people pleaser is not connected to their own and lives, actually is addicted. Hey, Alexa. Hi, Scott. Hi, Nancy. Hey, Danielle. So, in YouTube world, that can be so bipolar or not. Because it's about, so if you're a people pleaser, it's a relationship where the person was an addict, and when you're in that situation, you tend to be a people pleaser. Because the hardest thing I had to learn, and especially if you have a mental illness, you feel less than as a person, makes you feel dumb. From the young, I was not considered an amazing student just because of the way, but now I have come to being bipolar. A lot of people are geniuses. Relationships is difficult. And so you have to learn. Here's the thing: you have to learn, no matter who you are, what your circumstance, you have to learn how to love you. How I can tell you that I had a time in my life where I said, I please people so much that I don't even know my favorite color. Hey, Terry. So Nancy says that is 90% of people out in public, people pleasers to your face, but not behind your back. So I'm calling it out. Number one, if you have a mental illness, that can range anywhere from severe anxiety to full-on manic depression. You don't, I did not feel good about myself. I did not love myself. Therefore, I allowed people into my life that I let them treat me like a doormat that they could walk all over. But if you do that, here's the hard part, and I'm going to try to put it into words, and it hit me in the head. So, having been married to an addict, which I'm not, but I was, Al-Anon, hi John, Al-Anon says when one person gets sane, the whole house changes. And the one thing that really hit me is when you're a people pleaser, you need to be needed. And this, right now, what I'm about to say, hit me in the head. You are just as sick as the person who is depending on you to save them. And that's the extreme of people pleasing. But It can happen in parent-child relationships, in marital relationships. It can happen in friends years ago that I had to tell her, I can't see you anymore. This is really unhealthy. So it's kind of funny. I've never broken up with a friend before until her, but I started to feel really drained. And when you're a people pleaser, you detach from what you need, almost like taking a drug. You live to save someone else. So, Mason, you say what someone else thinks doesn't change my beliefs or what I do. That's awesome. And obviously, you have learned to not do what I'm saying. So, you need to, there's something in school, it was called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And his theory is you need all your basic needs to self actualize. And I took this in school. And self actualization is when you have reached your goals and you are content with you, and it's not dependent upon what someone else wants or doesn't want from you. So dating the same person to everybody. That's awesome. That's awesome. I just wanted to bring up because being a manic depressive, if I wasn't a strong personality, if my personality separate from my disease wasn't as strong as it is, who knows where I'd be now. Because when you are sick or you have a difficulty or a barrier, you can become reliant on other people, or poverty, the same thing. Financial control of someone is a real thing. So if you feel like you are dependent on someone and so you have to please them so you don't lose them because of whatever that means to you in your life, then you will just put your whole person to the side and do whatever they want at any cost. It was not abnormal for me to hear, if you weren't ... I wouldn't drink. And Nancy say, I only need to love me and God. God will look after the one that brings you misfortune. I had to learn who I am. Yes, you do. Hey, James. So that's why I teach you a lot, to be really connected to yourself, checking in. It's really easy to be on autopilot. And I think I've shared when I went to France, and I lived there for 2 months. No, they ate their meal. It took like all afternoon to eat, in tune with what was going on. Our society is go, 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 go. And it's, you know, how I encourage you to be successful. At the same time, I'm not telling you to do more than you can. I'm saying learn to decide what you want and then take the path to get there. So decide what the end goal is, but then work backwards from there to get there. So I just wanted to talk quickly about people pleasing. And something that's really tricky I find is in romantic relationships, people can pretend a long time to be something that they're not. And that's a tough one, but you can't control what you can't control. So I just, I wanted to share that because do not, Nancy, do not change yourself so that someone else is happy. If you're the codependent, they will never be happy because you cannot please someone who is in a codependent relationship. You will never be good enough. Hi, Colleen. You will never be good enough because you will never meet their needs because they don't like themselves. And you are just as unwell being the codependent because you have a sick desire to be needed. And I can say that. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Jenna. I can say that without feeling, because that was me. That was me for a long time. You know, there are signs in any type of relationship that, I ignored the bottles of wine and the bottles of vodka. Love makes you stupid. Your life too, eh, Colleen? So, don't ignore the signs. Be realistic. If your gut is going, ugh, I don't care. If you find yourself saying, I love this person. I don't like how much they drink. I don't like how much, whatever they do. I don't like that they flirt with other people. Whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. You don't deserve at any time to be treated like crap. And so, check in with yourself. Get to know yourself, like Mason mentioned, and someone else. Here, learned this. So you deserve joy. There's a difference between happiness and joy. Joy is a choice. Happiness is fleeting because it's dependent on something happening, like winning the lottery or whatever, getting what you want in your job. So I'm going to keep mentioning it. Every day, you should stop, check in with yourself, get quiet, and just sit. Try to feelings. We don't feel. That is some of the biggest problems of people's lives is we don't live our authentic. Sit down and check in and ask yourself, what am I feeling? I am feeling blank. Why? And then this is just a way for you to know who you are, what you need, If you don't even know how you're feeling and what you need, how in the world can you tell other people what your boundaries are? Right? So you need to know yourself every day more and more and heal. Because if you don't, then you will not be ready to say, stop right there. Nice to know you, but this is not for me. That can happen in a multitude of circumstances, even at work. If you're doing twice as much as someone because you're being manipulated, then that will drive you crazy. I work for myself for a reason. Hey, Lisa, I have zero tolerance for BS. I'm sorry, that's not a nice thing to say, but I just, at 45, after everything that I've been through, I'm just fed up to here. And I won't put up with it. I just won't. Half my life is over. That's not depressing. That's just a fact. And I don't want to keep being the same way. Like I've said to you, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. And the same old thing. You ask somebody, how you doing? And they say, same old, same. Not really living. So there's a book called Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. I have talked about it a lot. If you tend to be codependent as a child or as a young adult, it's something that's in families. It's something that we learn, and you can unlearn bad habits and create new ones. And I'm living proof of that. So I really recommend that book, Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. And it's pretty deep, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's just basically about you can't totally reach your full potential at the top if your self-esteem and your need for belonging and all of that isn't met. But I also conversation with boundaries. Personal boundaries are. Or are you just no, I'll get it, no problem? Even in my family relationships that are really healthy, no is not a dirty word. Okay? If you go and do something someone and you're exhausted and that's going to affect your well-being, then you have a right to say no. You do. And boundaries are something that I've had to learn. Communicating in a healthy way is something I've had to learn. So every day you learn something new. So I want you to ask yourself, are you a people pleaser? And if you are, that means you have codependent tendency. these things are not good for you. I used to have stomach aches so bad from being anxious of whether or not I was pleasing the person that I was trying to please, because you walk on eggshells around that person, because there is no feeding that hungry bear. It's going to be, they're usually narcissistic, self-centered, egotistical, totally unaware, or doesn't care how they're treating you or other people, and covering up their muck and mud. And Joe said something really good. So after years of being afraid to leave my basement, I decided to take back my life, the one that caused me hurt. We're not going to win anymore. I was taking back control of my life. I asked no one myself. So, I am so proud of you, Nancy. And if your life is working for you and you're enjoying it and you're not exhausted because you're not trying to please someone, that's awesome. It's not bad to ask for help, though, in my opinion. Again, in my opinion. I ask for help all the time. I have to, because I have a serious disorder and I sometimes have difficulty with my frontal lobe of my brain. I actually just had medication increased because I'm having a trouble concentrating on one thing. Ever since the doctors have leveled my mood, now my ADHD is like right out front. And I am going on 10 things all at once and getting nothing done. And so I'm on an ADHD med called Vyvanse, and we've increased it. And that just happened a couple of days ago. And so we'll see how that turns out. Hey, Jim. So that's all I wanted to share with you. So just to unpack it, ask yourself if you're a people pleaser. Try to learn the difference between a healthy relationship and a people pleasing relationship. And if you're starting out a relationship with anyone, whether it be romantic or even someone in your family, I have a saying in my family: I love you, but I don't have to like you. I just don't. Just because we're blood doesn't mean you get to like garbage or we're married or whatever. So learn the difference between a healthy relationship and a codependent relationship. Then you can learn, there's a book called Boundaries.